How's it going, everyone? Yep, this episode we're going to continue on with our 1978 Gottlieb Sinbad. The last episode we got our playfield all touched up, clear coated and waxed and mirror glazed. Yeah, we got her all ready to go. She's nice and smooth. I went ahead and stuck the pop bumpers back on because in this episode we're going to flip this over and get all of our maintenance and everything done on the bottom side of this playfield and start putting our switches back up through and our rollovers and that. Work on our drop targets, get our drop targets all cleaned up and maintenanced and ready to go. We have to add a switch. We have a stand up that somebody put an eject hole. There's all the parts off the eject hole, and there's all the wiring and boards and everything that they had all kind of hacked into there. I guess it just somebody was modding it. They had an eject hole here, which is a good idea, but you know, the machine's not set up for it, and they ended up blowing the MPU out of it, or the CPU, MPU, the computer, the motherboard, whatever you want to call it. So we had to put together a good CPU that I had sitting around. We had to fix it a little bit and got our segments. We had a segment missing, more than one segment, but one segment was missing on the CPU, and the other segments that were missing were on the displays. So we got that all squared away and taken care of. Everything in the back box is all done. We did our mods to it. We did the ground mods to the boards. We put the diodes and the wiring from our solenoid board back up to our CPU so we don't fry another CPU if something happens. Power supply has been rebuilt. Our displays, when we got the machine, we didn't have any displays. I have two good ones. 1 and 2 are good. 3 and 4, I bought these untested. 3 and 4 were blank, but the longer the machine stays on, they started coming on and starting getting brighter and brighter. So we'll leave them alone for now, and later on down the road, if they don't get bright enough for me, then I'll just order in a couple wolf packs and we'll build a couple for it. Also, when we got it, we didn't have a coin door. That coin door is from an 80, system 80. This is a system 1. So we got the Susan B. Anthony, which there's nothing in there. So that one I'll just tape off. Didn't have a power supply. Bought a used power supply. We rebuilt it and got it all squared away. And then we started working on the playfield. We tore it down, cleaned it all up. Then we touched it up. We had to do some plastic surgery on Sinbad here. We got him done. We up around the pop bumpers. We did all of those. That was bad all the way around both of those. But those were the only two really bad spots, was Sinbad himself and around the 2 pop bumpers. Everything else was just had some nicks in it that I kind of touched up every now, a little bit here and there, just to kind of fill in a little bit more. This line that you see up here, that glue or something that somebody drizzled on here, and I couldn't get it off without, stripping it all the way down to the wood. So we'll live with it. We got plastic here, pop bumper, so you're not going to see much of it back in there. So we're at the point where we need to flip the playfield over and start doing all of our maintenance on the bottom side of the playfield. So I'll get this flipped over and then we'll go over what we have to do underneath to get everything ready so we can populate the top side. I got started on the bottom side of the playfield. I put in all of our stand-up, well, not stand-ups, but yeah, whatever you call them, for your rubbers, and put back all of our rollovers, levers. Working on a drop target assembly right at the moment. Let's see, I keep finding more stuff to do under here. I got a bad socket I got to change out. We have to get the stand up and everything put in here and get everything all hooked up. The stand ups, the targets are ugly. So we're going to change out those. I got one broken wire down here on one of the switches for the big drop target bank. Got to change out all the light bulbs and clean all the inserts yet. Change all the sleeves in our flippers, our hole kick out, pop bumpers. I got to clean those relays over there. I cleaned all the switches that are laying down, and I clean those ones before I put them up in. Drop targets, you can see they're pretty worn out. So there's a new set. I'll put those in. Here's our new stand-up target that I got to put in, and there's the target faces that I have to change out. Yeah, let's see what else we got going on under here. Everything else so far looks okay. Like I said, just a lot of light bulbs, cleaning, do some soldering, some sleeves, all kind of fun stuff. But we'll get everything all put together. I didn't video doing the drop target bank because these are the same banks that are in Target Alpha. It was close enough. Target Alpha was 76. This is 77 or nope, 78. So they use the same drop target banks. So these are the same as Target Alpha. If you need to know how to tear one of those down, you can go to Target Alpha, and that'll show you how to tear these down and replace targets and that in them. Yeah, got some sockets, new sockets to put in. Mainly it's just getting everything all kind of squared away, so when we do flip it back over, that we're ready to start populating, and everything under here should be done. And we don't have to do anything. Yeah, right. Okay, I'll get busy. I'm going to get the drop targets put in. I do see on this drop target bank I got a spring that I got to replace. So let me get busy so I can get this done, and then we can start populating the top of the playfield. Now we were going to get started on the top side of the playfield, but I was kind of having some intermittent boot issues, and figured I'd track that down. Figured it wasn't anything serious, but every time I would turn it on, I lost my playfield lights, and my tilt relay would turn on, but not every time. When the tilt relay didn't turn on, I still wouldn't boot. So, but I figured it was in the tilt circuit. So I started messing around, and it seemed like every time I messed with the ball run, it would then it would boot. My lights would stay on, my Playfield lights would come on, and then the machine would boot. So I took it all apart, cleaned it all up again, and put it back on, and it didn't boot for me. So the only other thing left is the one on the Playfield that is supposed to be open at all times until you shake it and then it tilts. There's no kick switch on this, so it wasn't in there. The only one left was the slam switch on the door. So I took it all apart, cleaned it all up, and put it back in, and it booted. Or I didn't, I just cleaned it up and left it hang there, turned the machine on, and it booted. Okay, so I figured I got it. So I messed around with it, and I stretched it down and got it all hooked back up, turned it on, and the machine wouldn't boot. So I took off all the harnesses, all the keepers, and this is what I found. If you pinch this together, it'll boot. If you stretch it out a little bit, it won't boot. We got a broken wire inside the wire there, inside the casing, and that was up under that retainer, and it pinched it and broke the wire. So now I'll get that repaired. This is just kind of a little troubleshooting within doing our Playfield, because I want the machine booting when we're doing the Playfield, and I figured I'd let you and show you that sometimes the simplest things are one of the hardest things to find as to why a machine won't boot. This MPU, I didn't put the little jumper in to do away with all the tilt switches, because this one's going to be in the arcade and I want it to be able to tilt. I don't want anybody beating the machine around and sliding it from side to side or whatever just to play it and cheat. So we'll get that fixed up, and then we'll be ready to get started on our Playfield. Alrighty, now it's time to populate the Playfield. I put some stuff on it while you guys were asleep. I went ahead and put the ball guide rail, or the out-hole rails in, and a few things. Got the flippers put down in it, and put the top apron and that all together. Put all the wire guides in. So all we have left to do is just put our posts and plastics on, and it'll be all populated and ready to go. So I'll get you set up and we'll do a little time lapse, or I don't know, maybe I'll just talk to you. When I moved out to Colorado, see, I was out in Colorado from like the early to mid 80s to the early 90s. Lived out in Grand Junction, Colorado. And when I moved out there, got a job working construction. We were building an egg farm. At least that's what we called it. We called it the egg farm. We had 480,000 chickens. But anyway, I started on construction, building the barns when they were first putting it up. And it was, you know, I enjoyed it. It was cold most of the time when I was working there. It was, you know, it was during the winter months, because we needed to have the barns up by spring. Yeah, it was a lot of fun building the barns, and I was building after we got some other guys in. I started building the cages that go inside the barns. Yeah, it worked out good. I kind of enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun building them, especially with with one of the bosses. It was a real, you know what, he came in later, and you know, we had already been there working on the barns for almost a year, and he'd come in thinking that he was gonna, you know, turn everything and make it more efficient. You know, same thing a lot of these guys do when they come into a company, thinking that they're, you know, that they're all hot shit, excuse me, all hot crap, and can do everything better than everybody else. I don't think anybody liked him. Well, there was one guy that liked him because he was a butt kisser anyway. But you know, we had the one time he was, that's back asswards. He was always on you. I mean, if he caught you talking during work hours, he would dock your pay half an hour because you stood around and talked. You know, just one of those guys. I know the one time we waited for him to go in the job Johnny, and we put a pallet up against the door under the handle so he couldn't get out, and we left him out there for quite a while until, you know, of course, until the butt kisser went and let him out. Needless to say, it wasn't long after that he moved on. But, you know, there's always people on a job site that are just so gullible and so much fun to pick on, you know, and those are the ones that you do pick on. We used to zippy tie this one guy's tools to the cages all the time. And the best thing is, you know, you do the wire cutters. So you can't, so he has to try and cut them off with his knife. We've set the job Johnny in the back of his truck when he wasn't looking. You know, just one of those guys. He just fun to pick on. He took it pretty good. Sometimes he would really get pissed, and you know, those are the type of guys that are the fun ones to pick on, because you get a really good reaction out of them. So of course, those are the ones that you pick on and mess with the most. But I definitely, you know, it was okay. I was glad it was over with after the buildings were done and everything was done. I moved on and started hanging drywall. And, you know, I did that for a while. I was down in Bullhead City, Arizona, right across the river from Laughlin, Nevada. So we'd get out there, start hitting nails as soon as the sun come up. Yeah, that's when you actually nailed all your drywall up. You didn't use screw guns at that time. Everything was nailed. But yeah, we get out there and start hitting nails as soon as the sun come up. And by 1 o'clock, we'd be across the river at the casino, having free drinks and playing the slot machines. I always just played slot machines. I never played tables or cards or anything like that. You know, it was fun, but you know, not something that I really got hooked on. The only thing I was hooked on was the free booze. When I was in the casinos, I never drank beer. I would drink Tom Collins. Oops. Thought that one had a stud. That one has a screw. But I was living in Grand Junction, Colorado, and I'd drive all the way down to Bullhead City. We were hanging, doing residential work at that time. Which, you know, residential works, it's okay. I'd rather do commercial. I would rather do commercial. Residential is half inch, 12 footers, where commercial is 5/8, 12 footers. But most of the time in commercial work, you didn't have to swing a lid, which swinging a lid means you're doing the ceiling. You call it a lid. You know, you didn't have to swing a lid in commercial, but you did have to put up with the drywall being a hell of a lot heavier, because 5/8 is fire code to a certain degree. Let's see, worked in Bullhead City, and then we went to, after Bullhead City, after doing a bunch of houses down there, we went to Flagstaff, Arizona, and worked on the Motel 6, which, same thing, that was commercial, but you had all the hard lids in it. Now, motels are commercial, but what I liked about that was you could get a lot done. You know, we would get paid by the sheet, hanging drywall. And at that time, in the mid-80s, I was getting like $3.35 a sheet to hang drywall. Needless to say, you needed to do about 200 sheets in a week. You know, if you can get 50 sheets a day up, you're going to make some money. Put that there out of the way. And Flagstaff was fun. I mean, traffic sucks. Flagstaff, there was only one road in and one road out, main road, and it was busy. I mean, you learn real quick if there's a small opening that you can get your vehicle in, you do it. And my battery died. Had to go get another battery. Where was I? Oh yeah, Flagstaff. Flagstaff was, like I said, it was just way too busy for me down there. I wasn't there very long. And when I came back up from Flagstaff, wasn't sure if that's what I wanted to do or not. I was still young. So when I came up, I went back out to the egg farm and got a job maintenance at the egg farm. Since I helped build everything, they put me in charge of maintaining all the egg running equipment. It brought all the eggs up to the processing plant. We would run like 144,000 dozen eggs a day. I mean, there's 480,000 chickens in 8 barns. And I'll tell you what, a lot of stinking chickens. And, you know, a chicken can lay, well, they average about 1.5 eggs a day. Yeah, I know, laying half an egg. How do you lay half an egg? Well, you know, some days the chicken would poop out 2 eggs, and the next day 1 egg. Just how it was timed out. I really liked doing that. It was a lot of fun. It was easy. I mean, shit, I just went up and down through the barns and, you know, tightened chains and oil stuff. And, there was big long belts. The cages were 3-tier. You know, the bottom, second, and the third, and there was 4 sections per cage per side, with 2 sides, 2 aisles, and each individual cage had 7 chickens in it. And that's where we run into a lot of problems with the animal activists and all that, because our chickens were in cages 7. And they just said that was inhumane for the chicken. Well, you know, those chickens grew up in cages like that. That's all they've ever known was those cages. So it's not like, you know, you just took somebody's chicken out of their front yard and stuffed it in a cage. That's all they knew. And every chicken had its beak clipped when they were young, so they wouldn't peck each other. Because when chickens are cannibalistic. If one chicken sees a little red mark, a little bit of a blood mark on another chicken, those other chickens will just peck the hell out of it until that chicken's dead. And they, you know, they'll actually eat them if they can get into them. And that was the worst part about the job, is I used to help the barn guys pull dead chickens. You know, you'd get 20 or 15 or 20 dead chickens a day in a barn. And you had to go through and pull dead chickens. Or if a chicken was maimed, you know, half dead, or just sickly, you used to just pull them out, wring their neck, and throw them on the ground, throw them on the cement floor, and then just go around with a wheelbarrow and pick them all up. And they went back and into the manure pile. And we got in trouble for doing that, from the environmentalists and all them. So we had to start burying our dead chickens. We would, you know, you'd dig a pit, layer a bunch of dead chickens in the bottom, and cover them with lime. What we used to do was we had a chicken grinder. We used to just, you know, you just take dead chicken and throw it in a grinder and grind it up to nothing but, you know, skin, bone, whatever, some flesh, and then it would go in the manure pile, and then it would be taken out and spread on the fields. Well, they didn't like that, so we had to start burying them. A pain. Some people, I'll tell you, talk about people. When we built the egg farm out here in the middle of nowhere, there was nothing out there, just fields. And as soon as you put in something, and then, you know, everything started booming, next thing you know, people were buying property around the egg farm. And what's the first thing they do? They bitch about the smell. I mean, you know, you went and looked at this house, or this property, and the chicken farm was there, but yet, and you smelled it, but yet you still build a house, and then next thing you got to do, bitch about the smell. You know, it's like, well, duh, you knew it was there, you smelled it when you went and looked at the property, but yet, what, you think you were going to close down a $5 million chicken farm? Just because it offended you? So we always fighting with that, with the smell. I mean, you can't make the wind blow a certain way. It only, you know, it blows one way or the other, and And if you happen to be downwind, guess what? You're gonna smell chicken crap. And I used to help out too, spread manure. The manure spreader is a heck of a different type of manure spreader. It's just it's a truck, and on the side of it was an opening with flinging hammers, and crap would slide down to the hammers, and the hammers would fling it out into the field. And chicken crap is great fertilizer. Because of all the nitrogen in it. Stink to high heaven, but just like anything, you get used to it. You work around it enough, you get used to it. Hard to say, but yeah, you do. You get used to it. Everybody come in and complain. Oh man, it stink. What? I don't smell anything. I guess that's a true going nose blind. I think that one goes there. I have to. Let me go look. Yep, goes there. All the barn guys that worked in the barns were all Mexican guys. All of them. They just had their green cards, and they'd always come to me asking, for advice and stuff like that, because they were new. Why? God, I should have put this one on first. Yeah, because most of those jobs like that, they're the only ones that would do it. And one guy lost his green card and came to work scared to death. He came up to me, said, in broken English, "Todd, what? I lost green card. What do I do?" And I don't know. I mean, I go down to the immigration and tell them you lost your green card, give them your name and everything, and they'll just issue a new one to you. And that's what he did, and they did. Told him, don't worry about it. Shit. Even if you don't have it with you, you do have one, and they'll check and find out that you do, and you'll be fine. A bunch of really great guys. Same thing, you could joke around with them and have fun in the barns. I mean, it was a great place to work, except for the smell. But like I said, you get used to it after a while. processing plant was mainly young Mexicans, girls working up there. And the other people that run the plant were gringos. Yep, does that go there? Yep. Used to get 2.5 dozen eggs a week free. that was part of your pay. And the eggs that we got were super jumbos. If you're not familiar with a super jumbo has 2 yolks in it. And I forgot to mention too that all the chickens were hens. Every once in a while, a rooster'd slip in and a new load of birds. All hens, so nothing was fertilized. Let's see, I got that little one goes there. That's a big one. It's got to go over here. We can. Sometime when things are a little better, I'll probably get a new set of plastics for this machine. Like I said, there are a couple of them that are cracked. But they're not horrible. You know, we don't have big chunks missing out of them. So they're fine for now. But when the chickens started molting, molten meaning they lose their they're losing their feathers. Oh shit, I got one missing. They start losing their feathers, they stop laying eggs. And by then they're not worth anything, at least to the egg farm. And so we had to unload them out of the cages, which is, yeah, you know, it's alright. I mean, if you don't mind working, I mean, you do what you got to do, and you don't worry about it. You just do your job. But when you taking them out of the cages, you know, we put them in these big trolleys. Same thing, they were about 9 high. And we'd stuff 14 chickens per trolley, per layer, per side. And you always started at the bottom and worked your way up. Never the other way around. Because when you're down stuffing the bottom cages, you have chickens above your head. And you know what chickens do? They eat, poop, and lay eggs. So what do you think they're going to do? They'll poop on you. Those ones that we would load up in the trolley, in those big trolleys, most of them went to either Tyson Food or Campbell's. One barn load of chickens would make a whole rail car of chicken noodle soup. And you ever wonder why your Tyson chickens are so small in your TV dinners and all that? That's because the chickens we had were bred for laying eggs, and they were fed for laying eggs. They weren't fattened up to be meat. Alright, what am I doing here? Oh, let me see. Oh yeah, I gotta find I'm missing a Siamese post. Let me see if I can find that, and then we can finish this up. Okay, I found it. That'll be our spinner. Let's see. Big one here. And that big one. That's going to be the hardest one, so we'll put that one on. But then the other chickens that didn't go to either Tyson or Campbell went to mink farm. And what we did with those is we would throw your screwdriver. We just open the cages, flush all the birds out onto the ground, so they're all out running around. And we put a big chicken grinder at the back of the building, at the back door. And we would just herd all the chickens to the back to that grinder. They would run through the grinder, and they'd just get all ground up and spit into the back of a truck. I know it sounds nasty, but that's what they wanted. You know, that's what the mink farm wanted. They wanted it ground. I definitely hate to be the one that have to clean out that truck afterwards. Because the mink, they don't care. They'll eat whatever. They'll eat the chicken. They like it pureed. Yeah, I know this spinner is not going to work very well. Everything is just so worn out on it. The brackets and everything are all worn out. I mean, the holes are all flippity floppity. But again, no parts available. Everybody's out of them. Oops. Put that on the right side, Todd. There you go. Okay. Plastic. I got plastic missing. Who took my plastic? Well, hell. And bring it over here. Anywhere? Nope. Okay. Aha, there it is. So again, got trouble with that. We weren't allowed to sell them to the mink farm anymore because it was inhumane to grind up those chickens for the mink. Again, it seems like no matter what you do, in a business trying to make money, and always somebody there to beat you back down. So you, but you know, that wasn't a that's really no problem because you know, we just sell them to Tyson or Campbell. That's it. I did that for about, I was out there for about 5 years doing that until they decided, well, they fired my mom and dad, which worked in the front office. Me and my dad started out on construction. I went and did drywall. Mom and dad moved into, mom moved into the bookkeeping, and well, that's where she started to begin with, and dad worked in the warehouse, and I came back, and then I worked out in the barns. Well, they fired my mom and dad because we got a new CEO or a new manager or whoever you want to say runs the business there, the egg farm. And he didn't like us because we knew more than him, so we were a threat to him. So you get rid of the people that are a threat to you. They fired me just because they just told me that I wasn't living up to my expectations. And it's like, Christ, I kept them damn 8 barns running for 5 years without any problems. But which was okay. I knew it wasn't going anywhere, but you know, hey, it was a job until something better come back up. So that's what I did in Colorado until I got fired from the egg farm, and we'll have to pick it up later on when I'm doing something else that I'll tell you the rest of my history, so to speak. This is just when I was in my 20s. I can go back to when I was in my teens and shit. Okay, I'll put the apron on because you guys are in the way. That's all that's left is the apron, and I'll put, oh yeah, hey, we gotta put on. You didn't tell me I had to put the rubbers on. Don't forget your rubbers. We need to put our rubbers on our flippers. See, I got the right flipper on there. Looks like, yeah. That one's sticking out a little bit. There we go, lay it down in there. Yeah, this one I need to adjust down a little bit. I like them to be flat, so when they, you know, you can bounce them off. And all right, I got one more thing I want to put on there for you. Why didn't you tell me I forgot a rubber? We do have a post missing, and it's ordered. Hopefully we can get it. There's a mini post that sits sits right there. I know without it, it makes it a little easier to run up that rail. But you're also going to be hitting that rail with your ball. So when it comes in, I'll put it on. It's supposed to have it, so it's going to have it, I guess. That way you don't have to look at that ugly hole. Ugly hole. That's an ugly hole. And last thing besides the apron are our new bumper caps. Bumper. There we go. Alright, now let me get the apron on it and we'll be all buttoned up.